Come, Ray. The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win. Now the 2-1.
Line drive to the base hit. Justice has scored the tying run. Green to the plate. And he is safe. Safe at the plate. The Braves go to the World Series.
Have reserved seats somewhere along one of the baseline that sat when they were children and cheered their heroes.
Gibson swings and a fly ball to deep right field. This is going to be a home run. Unbelievable!
A 3-run home run for Bucky Dent. The Yankees now lead by a score of 3-2.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mazeroski has hit a 1-0 pitch over the left field fence at Ford Field to win the 1960 World Series.
They'll arrive at your door as innocent as children, longing for the past.
The Pope arrived at Yankee Stadium. As one enthusiastic announcer put it, he is standing on second base.
Reggie Jackson. Long drive right field. It is big World Series. The Blue Jays are World Series champions as Joe Carter hits a 3-run home run.
Back and throw. There's a lead. It's going to be a lead. The Giants won the pennant. The Giants won the pennant. The Giants won the pennant.
The 0-1 pitch. A liner off Nagy's glove into center field. The Florida Marlins have won the World Series.
The memories will be so thick that I can brush them with my faces.
The 1-0 delivery to Fisk. He swings long drive left field. If it stays fair, it's gone. Home run. The Red Sox win. And the series is
Lolich fires. Ball is hit high in the air. This should be the series. Freehand waving everybody away in foul territory. Detroit wins.
Here's the pitch to Willie. There's a liner straight to Richardson. The ball game is over and the World Series is over. Willie McCovey hit it like a bullet. A line drive right
Baseball to mark the time.
The Oakland A's take. I'll tell you what, we're having an earth.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Candlestick Park for Game 3 of the 1989 World Series.
It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again.
Frank Robinson, the right-hand batter.
Long drive to left field. Way back. It's a good foul. Home run.
Base hit loaded, 1 out. Pena in a jam. The Twins are going to win the World Series. The Twins have won it.
Ozzie with 1 out. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run. And the
Willie Mays just brought this crowd to its feet with a catch which must have been an optical illusion to a lot of people.
This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again.
Broadcasted live.
Who wants to have some fun?
There are balls coming from all over the place. Left field, center field, right field. See, this is the kind of thing, quite honestly, right now, that makes you want to see the Chicago Cubs team lose.
Now, you just saying you want to have fun, or do you really want to have fun?
It'll be fun.
Will the next person that sees anybody throw anything onto this field, point them out, and get them out of here? You don't live in Cleveland. You live in Cincinnati.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
That is the farthest thing in the universe from the truth.
Hello, everyone, live. It's the Dan Scott Show. And right there is your host, Dan Scott.
All right, well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of our program. I am Dan Scott. Very happy to have you with us as we get this show underway today. It's another gorgeous day here in the upstate of South Carolina. I want to tell you, we are not that far away from the first frost of the year. Went out this morning, got in the car right about 6:30, and the entire windshield was covered with moisture to the point that you couldn't see out of it yet. No freezing yet, but we're getting there. Here we are in the latter stages of the month of October. Less than a month to Thanksgiving now, and that time of year is getting here where it's going to be really, really cold really, really soon. But you know what? We'll be thankful for that when it gets here. But right now, as I'm looking out towards Paris Mountain, across the playing field and beyond the visitor stands here at Paladin Stadium, beautiful day, sunshine, blue skies, and we are most thankful for that and extremely thankful to have you tuned in with us. If you're watching us on Facebook Live, if you're watching on Twitter via Periscope or just simply via Periscope, if you are on YouTube, please take a moment and share those links on all of your social media. Help us grow the audience. I try to mention it every day when I think about it, but it's of vital importance that you take just a little bit of initiative and help us grow this show. Get people to come in here, and hopefully we can give them something they like and get them coming back. But take just a minute to tweet out the link or to share the link on your Facebook page, and we'll be off and running this morning. I want to remind you that coming up after the show today, if you missed it yesterday, we kind of slipped it in because I had to do some other things, including recording the 4th episode of the All Den podcast with basketball coach Bob Ritchie and a couple of others. If you missed the replay of the Furman Mercer game, it will begin immediately following the show here on the Campus FM and on TuneIn Radio at our Campus FM site there, which is WPLS-LP. So you can go look for that, bookmark it. You can have it there on your app or on your smartphone, on your tablet, or on your computer, even just going to the site, and you'll be able to hear the replay of the Furman Mercer game, the 28-21 win, 5th straight win for the Paladins. That's coming up after the game. What's very interesting is with the new FCS polls out this morning, and I guess they were actually out late yesterday, 5 straight wins now for Furman still hasn't done a whole lot to stir up excitement amongst those who are doing the voting. And you kind of scratch your head a little bit, but at the same time, know that with 3 games remaining, 2 of them against teams that are ranked 18th or higher in the FCS poll, if you can win those 2, you're going to make your jump, as well as still the game with the Citadel to go. But it is still a little bit head-scratching, understanding, too, that when you start out of a poll, you're not even in the conversation to begin with, and then you lose your first 3 games, although the NC State loss is not supposed to count, not supposed to be factored in, but you lose your first 2 games. By the way, to 2 teams who are highly ranked, Wofford and Elon, and lose both of those in the final play of the game, you start from a major deficit, and that's the way it is at the FCS poll. That's the way it is at the FBS level. If you start high, you have a lot more leeway when it comes to what happens if you drop a game. But if you start low or you're not even in the poll, it's hard to make that climb up. And I think Furman's finding that out a little bit right now. It's hard to get the attention of voters. In the coaches poll, well, I'll tell you what, let's start with the Stats FCS poll, where James Madison, North Dakota State, and Jacksonville State are still 1, 2, and 3 as they were a week ago. South Dakota fell from 4 to 6, jumping into the 4 spot is Central Arkansas, and then Sam Houston State at number 5. South Dakota at 6. Then comes North Carolina A&T. Wofford fell to 8th with its loss to Samford, and Samford is 9th behind the Terriers. Of course, they have one more loss. And then Elon is 10th. So right there in that 8, 9, and 10 slot, 3 Furman opponents. 2 we've already played and lost, as I said, on the last play of game to both Wofford and Elon. Samford still to come, the final regular season game down in Birmingham. And then you keep going. You get down to number 18 in the poll. That's where Western Carolina resides. They're up a spot from last week at 6-2 overall. So that's what the poll looks like. Furman last week, if I remember correctly, got 14 votes, or 14 others receiving votes. This week, they're up to 33, which ties them with the Citadel. To give you an idea, the team that would be number 26, right outside the poll, Northern Arizona, has 532 points. So still a long, long way to go for the Paladins in the Stats FCS poll. And in the coaches poll, it's a similar set of circumstances. The Paladins received 1 whole vote from the coaches this week. To give you an idea there, Northern Iowa is 25th with 64 points, and Delaware, just outside the top 25, they would be 26th, has 61. Citadel is still getting 5 votes in that others receiving votes category. So still got a lot of work to do, but as I said, with 3 games remaining, 2 of them against teams that are still ranked both inside this conference, you have an opportunity to make up quite a bit of ground and get the attention of some people. Basically, I can tell you just what the coaches are saying. They're not worried about that. They're taking the old 1 game at a time. It's what you have to do, and letting these things work themselves out. Here's the bottom line. You run the table, if you're Furman, then you're going to be in the playoffs. And that's all you want. What did Brett Harker call it at the Southern Conference tournament when we got to that championship Sunday? After losing a game on Saturday, having to win an elimination game, came back on that Sunday morning. He said, all I want is a chip and a chair. Well, that's what Furman's hoping for, a chip and a chair. Get us into the tournament, and let's see what happens. So anyway, those are the polls. By the way, in the coaches poll, James Madison, North Dakota State, Jacksonville State, Central Arkansas, Sam Houston State, 1 through 5 remains the same. South Dakota fell to 7th in the coaches poll. North Carolina A&T is number 6. Samford and South Dakota State are tied for 8th. Wofford 10, Elon 11, and Western Carolina at number 20 in the coaches poll. So just keeping an eye on that, and we'll see what happens after this week in Cullowhee when Furman takes on the 18th/20th ranked Catamounts up in the mountains. One other note involving a former FCS team and a former Southern Conference opponent. You may have seen someone reference this at the end of the show yesterday on the Facebook timeline, but Georgia Southern has fired second-year coach Tyson Summers. They are 0-6. They just lost to Massachusetts, who was winless prior to that game, 55-20. UMass won. And the Summers tenure, short as it was, 5-13 overall, has been a train wreck. Georgia Southern is an interesting place for a lot of reasons. I mean, you have to want to go to Statesboro. Okay, there's not a whole lot of reason to go there other than to play sports, or to go to the college to get your education. Statesboro is not a destination. So their fans generally take their sport seriously there, including more than any their football program, which obviously has a long, very successful history, and a history that's intertwined, as most of you know, with Furman. Well, they make the jump to the FBS level in the Sun Belt Conference with Appalachian State 3 years ago, and had a great first season there. And since then, it has been an absolute mess. Tyson Summers came in and, as I said, promptly has coached them to a 5-13 record. And it's very interesting to note that Georgia Southern supporters are extremely territorial when it comes to what they want to see in their football team. They want their football team to be a triple option, run-heavy football program. And it's very intriguing to see coaches who have come in the last decade or so and tried to go away from that have been basically shown the door sooner rather than later. Summers came in, tried to take them away from running the triple option, running the double wing set. It did not work. He went back to it this year, but it was too late. And his entire tenure, as it turned out, was pretty much a disaster. In fact, we were commenting in the radio booth at one of the games we were doing probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I came across a picture on Twitter, I believe it was, of action in Statesboro and showing the home stands, and there might have been 200 people in the home stands. And it was just an incredible example of how the Eagles fans have turned their back on that program, or did turn their back on that program under Tyson Summers. So it really doesn't come as much of a surprise that he is out. He'll be replaced on an interim basis by assistant head coach Chad Lunsford, his 5th current season and 9th overall with the Georgia Southern program. And here is what the athletic director said, quote, "Chad is as true blue as they come, and I'm excited to have him lead our team for the remainder of the 2017 season." He is a guy who's been there for a lot of the good times and success that they've had. It'll be interesting to see what he can do as an interim coach the remainder of this year. So Summers is out down in Statesboro. We will see what they do, but it's been very intriguing to see how that program has fallen in just a couple of years. All right, we need to take a break because you saw the gentleman who just walked through the door. He is our guest today. Chad Staggs, the defensive coordinator, will be joining us in just a moment. First, a reminder about our friends at the Atlanta Bread Company, located in Cherrydale Plaza, right down the road from campus. And I continue to tell you that as the weather's turning cooler, isn't it great to have an option of someplace where you can get hot soup, hot chili, warm sandwiches? In fact, I was talking to Jeff Massey's wife yesterday. I went in, it's pelting the rain, coming down sideways. And I said I was shocked at how busy they were, because oftentimes when it's raining like that, people don't want to go out, especially if they have to get out of their car. And she said, oh, no. She said, this is when people love to come see us. She said, in fact, if it were 10 degrees cooler, they'd be lined up outside the door because of the hot soup, because of the chili, because of the warm sandwiches. So just keep that in mind, and also thank them for what they've done to help get this program some financial solid footing and keep us rolling. That is the Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Plaza, and here's more about them, or you'll hear more about them in this commercial break. We'll come back. Chad Staggs joins us to talk some Furman football, and we'll do that right after this. Don't go away.
Hey Furman fans, it's baseball season. Here at Ingalls, we know that as you root for the home team, sometimes you want more than just peanuts and Cracker Jack. And while we do deliver on your favorite ballpark classics, we're proud to offer a packed lineup of everything you need to make your next meal a home run. Ingalls, a proud sponsor of Furman Baseball and the official grocery store of Furman Athletics. Go Dins!
The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point offers a dining experience that will have you coming back for more time and time again. Everything is freshly made on site, including the different varieties of bread and all the baked goodies. And the menu, Atlanta Bread Company offers a wide variety from hot soups and chili to hot and cold sandwiches and paninis. Even breakfast selections topped off with your choice of piping hot coffees. Come see for yourself. You'll love it. The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point, proud sponsors of the Furman Paladins and the Dan Scott Show.
Looking for a good lunch spot in the Travelers Rest area? The Cafe at Williams Hardware is your place. Williams Hardware has food for the whole family, from the famous Reuben to the barbecue chicken quesadilla and their daily lunch specials, which includes the award-winning BLT unpimmented cheese with pepper jelly, served Tuesday to Thursday. Williams Hardware also serves breakfast on Saturdays from 8 to 11, perfect before Furman home game. And don't forget the gift shop, which offers items for anyone on your list. Go see your friends at the Cafe at Williams Hardware, 13 South Main Street in downtown TR. Full menu and operating hours at the Cafe at WilliamsHardware.com.
So you've got a busted phone or tablet screen. Time to get a new device? Nope. Time to give it CPR. CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale can repair almost any phone or tablet screen on the market and usually can do it same day. In fact, if you have an iPhone, the fix usually takes less than an hour. CPR Cell Phone Repair also can fix computers and gaming systems, both screens and hard drives. And they sell refurbished devices and new accessories. Stop by and see the new owner, Janet Culver, today and check them out on Facebook. That's CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale, 864-282-9097. Give it CPR today. All right, we are back. It's the second segment of the show. It's 10:16 on another gorgeous day here in the upstate. I'm Dan Scott. Thank you for joining us. Our guest today, we went offense yesterday. We'll go defense today. Chad Staggs, a defensive coordinator, making another appearance here with us on the program, and we really appreciate the time doing so because I know that game week for football coaches, people may not know this, but it's fairly busy.
It's very busy.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Family good?
Family's always better when we win. No
Is that
doubt.
because you're always better when you win?
Because I'm always better, and they take it hard too. I got a little boy and a little girl, and the little girl doesn't care as much, but the little boy he hurts as bad when we lose as the players, and the wife does too. It's a big family deal. We're all family, and players, coaches, and your immediate family. So it's always better when you win, and everybody's happier.
Well, that's good because we happy wife, happy life, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's right. Wins create that for sure, no doubt.
Hey, it was. I talked with both Clay and Drew about this yesterday. It may not be so good as far as stomach acid and some other things, but it was good to see this team win a close game, and it was important, I think, for this team to win a close game this past weekend.
Yeah, I think what you saw, and I haven't seen their interview or talked to them, but I think what you saw is the difference between the Elon game and the Wofford game is really the belief in the guys that they can win. And I've been a part of some programs where that transition is big. I think you saw that in the Wofford early. They played a bunch of close games early, and they believe they're going to win them all. And those teams end up winning. If you have a little doubt, those guys don't make the plays, and I think that's what you're seeing. You're just seeing guys that are confident. I had some of the players say, come up defensively after we were able to stop them and just say, hey, we had full confidence we're going to stop them. And it just all works together. Defense guys believed, the offense guys believed. And I think that's what you're seeing.
I say this, and it sounds overly simplistic, but I think it's true. And it's one of the things that I used to say when Nico Medved was rebuilding the basketball program here and watching how that thing went in stages, and the same thing applies. The only way to learn to win close games is to go out and win one.
No doubt. I agree 100%. That's about all. Simple answers.
I mean, it sounds overly simple, but
right.
But there's really no other way to do it.
No, you got to prepare them. I think that's part of it. You got to prepare them for them to expect certain things, and you got to practice it. That 2-minute drill we do every Wednesday, and a lot of situations that came up in the game have came up in practice. And coach, we do that every Wednesday at the end of practice, and It's crazy, but, we've had that situation with 12 seconds or something left on the clock, and, Joe didn't get the interception, but we've had some interceptions, and we've made some plays, and we've got some sacks. And I think you prepare your guys for the situational part of football is a big part of it. And then the more experience the guys get, the situation may not come up a year later, and next year these guys will know better than they already do, but that's part of it.
Take us through the conversations the defensive coaches are having and that you're having with your defensive players right before you go on the field. We get the ball back at our 44-yard line, I think, basically run 3 plays and punt it.
Right.
Don't get a first down. So what's the what's the conversation like during the time the offense is on the field?
Well, obviously, from my point of view, I was hoping we didn't have to go back on the field. So I run down to Clay. I said, "Hey, Clay, if we get a first down, the game's over." He's like, "Yeah, I know." I was like, "I really don't want to go back on the field." He's like, "Yeah, we don't want you to either." But they did a good job. They made them burn their timeouts. They secured the ball, and then they just put it in their hands. And, what I did is, we huddled them up. And, from a – I don't know if you said arrogant, but confident standpoint, we've actually won the 2-minute drill the last 3 or 4 weeks versus the offense. And, I kind of say, hey, we don't lose 2-minute. And, that confidence going, you need to play with that confidence. And they looked like they did. They went out there and played with that confidence. But, I kind of gave them an idea of the calls we're going to run and to keep them in bounds, same things that most everybody would do. And obviously get slow off the pile, which sometimes we didn't do a good job of. But Jordan, sometimes they're wanting to get the call so fast they jump straight up and get ready for the next one, which is kind of what they want to do, but you kind of want to waste a few seconds. But, we wouldn't have liked to have just been in a true prevent as much as we were. But you got to understand too what we have. The last thing I wanted to is they got some really good receivers, and they're big and they're physical, and we're not exactly huge there, and we're really inexperienced. And so I just felt like the best thing was to make them execute with that quarterback down the field more than it was come after him at times. And we were doing a pretty good job of getting some pressure with 3. Yeah. And we would have liked to have – I liked to heated him up a few times, but, and that was brought up a few times from the box, and I just kind of stuck to my guns and was not letting them just throw one up. And they did it at the end, and luckily Joe went back there fortunate Joe went back there and intercepted it. So we kind of worked out good. It made me look good, but, I know a lot of people don't like the prevent,
Well, let me ask you this. You had the, I don't know if luxury is the right word from your standpoint at that particular time, but I'll say it, the luxury of knowing they had to get into the end zone. They needed 7 points to tie the game. How does that change things schematically or from a philosophical standpoint? Say, as suppose you get they get the ball, same place, same situation, but they need a field goal to tie it or win it. How does that change things?
Yeah. Well, going back to what we do on Wednesdays, we always switch it up. Coach will say, hey, we need a field goal. We're down by a touchdown and a 2-point. We'll switch that up, and that obviously changes the way you call it because, you got the whole field all the way to that goal line to keep them out, and then you still have to be ready for a 2-point play, or do you go to overtime? So that drastically does change the way you call it. You can get in that soft prevent, and if there's only 12 seconds and they're still on the 20 and 30, they still got to make a play, which is not easy, and so that does change the way you would have to call it. But once they kind of hit that high red zone and stuff, things change a little bit. If they just need a field goal around midfield, you'd have to tighten up a little bit more. But you didn't have to do that in that situation. And I think you got to be prepared for both.
So, luxury. You knew that?
No doubt. It would have been the difference was Elon.
Yeah.
I did come after him some, and it hurt, and they burned us on one of them, and they just needed a field goal. But you had to, you knew you had to kind of keep them out of that field goal range. Mm-hmm. Unfortunate for us that day is, he had been awful, basically kicking field goals before and after us because I watched some of the stuff after us, but he was really good that day. So
that's the way it works sometimes, isn't it?
That's the way it works. We've been fortunate ourselves in a few things this year, so that is the way it works.
We're 8 games in now. Where is this team defensively from an expectation standpoint now as opposed to maybe where you thought it would be. And you got to take into account a lot of things, the injuries. You've had to play so many players, and it seems like the injuries have been pretty much concentrated on two positions, cornerback and linebacker, which happen to be, oh, by the way, fairly important in what you do.
Yeah.
How have things gone as far as you're concerned?
Well, it's almost like a reset button. I think they develop a little slower the younger they are, you know. And then the thing about the young guys is it's a different style they see. You know, offensively, what's been fortunate for them, they've seen a ton of very similar structures, 3 down. So the guys are in the same spots for their freshmen at times, which is still freshmen, but it's a little easier. But you go and you see, you know, when you go walk into Sanford, that's going to be completely different what they see in practice of our offense. It's going to be completely different than what they see from Citadel. It's going to be completely different, you know, or similar to what they'll see at Western Carolina, but then different at Mercer. So each week you're trying to keep some fundamentals and the base defensive stuff in line and then still be able to coach them on what they're seeing that week and how they need to play certain things. And so it's a little bit of a reset each week. Still trying to keep things simple. I have seen a huge development in the linebackers, and you know, Coach Lamondola is doing a great job with those guys. You know, they're not playing, you know, to where I would like them to play, but it's because I want them to be All-Americans right now. I mean, I have high expectations. So, but you know, you've seen a huge development from week 1 to week 2 as coaches. Sometimes, though, you don't always see that until you just sit back and reflect and go back and look at game 1 of what you were doing to game 9 or 7 or whatever. So I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. So I think we're still not very good at times on defense, but we seem to be doing okay. But that's the way I approach it.
Your 2 young middle linebackers who were forced into playing time because of injury and who are now the full-time starters, even with the troops returning. I think Clay has quoted you on a couple of occasions in his show is saying they still have obviously a lot to learn and they're still making a lot of mistakes, but there's something to be said for see the ball, tackle the ball.
That is very true. That's the game of football. You know, this week's going to be a little more important for them because of, you know, anytime you have an option aspect to the game, the discipline aspect of the linebackers got to be a little more important. So that's going to be huge for them. We're going to spend a lot of time. We've already started on making sure they're a little bit more disciplined in some of their fits. But, you know, I don't know if our backers would have stayed healthy had these guys end up not starting anyway. You know, I wouldn't have known that. They're still 2 very talented kids. They're very athletic. They're probably more athletic than maybe they are probably more athletic than the guys ahead of them. But, you know, the experience and stuff, I don't know, would have kind of been more or not in terms of that. But, you know, we just got who we got, and we're just going to coach the heck out of them. And like I said, they got the belief, and the offense is doing a good job, and we're just working a little bit more as a team now than we probably were earlier.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we go in and, you know, right before half I was a little frustrated because we got what we wanted. We got a big sack on the first down, almost out of field goal range probably, and then we gave up that 3rd down, which was, you know, I'd say it's just a bad call, you know, played poorly by us, and but then they come back down, they go up, and then they come back down and score, and you know, and it's just working. Then we get the stops we need to get, and that's how you win football games. You got to work together. It takes a total team. If the offense is really good and the defense isn't really good, it's not going to work. If the defense is really good and the offense is really good, it's not going to work. You got to kind of work together, and that's kind of what we did last game.
I think we may have touched on this briefly the last time you were with us here, but whether it's a defensive coordinator or whether it is as a player, especially a young player, I mean, this is an education week to week in this league because you see so many different styles of offense that you have to learn to defend.
Very true. Probably more so in this league than even if you went to the ACC and stuff. You know, everybody's got a little bit different, but there are a lot more people, more spread and similar. And in this league, you may see, you know, an option one week. You got Wofford, you got Citadel, then you got Sanford, and you got Western Carolina, and then Mercer's a little bit of a blend of both. And It's very drastic. It's very different, and like I said, that's some of the challenge you're facing. Is there's a lot of new stuff still each week for the young guys.
Did you walk up to Clay at some juncture and say, "Look, if I'd have known it was going to be like this, I'd have asked for more money"?
I would ask for more money anyway, but.
Nature of the business, I guess. We're visiting with Chad Staggs, the defensive coordinator here at Furman. Paladins 5-3 have won 5 in a row and heading to Western Carolina to take on the 18th ranked Catamounts this week. And we were just talking about the polls here right before you came in, and the fact that Furman is still not garnering a whole lot of attention in the Stats FCS poll and the coaches poll. Coaches always say they don't worry about that stuff. How much do you actually worry about that stuff?
We were talking about that yesterday, actually, and I am one of the coaches that really don't look at those kind of things, because I have had the experience to know that when you get to playoff time in 1AA football or FCS football, those polls are not the same polls they use to get into the playoffs. They'll come out with another week or so. They come out with the committee poll in terms of where that's going to be. So, you may see a team that's ranked 5th in the country that's traveling the first week in a playoff. So there's a little bit of difference in terms of that. The fans and players like to look at those kind of things, and I kind of keep your head down. And if you win games, it's going to work itself out, especially in this league, because it's a good league, and if you win the league, you're going to the playoffs. But if you're up there at the tops, you're probably still going to the playoffs. And all you can really ask, you'd love to win the league, but really just get in the dance. We're talking to our guys. We'll put ourselves in position to do it. But if you get in the dance, then who knows what can happen? You got a week to prepare, especially what we do offensively, and we're a little different defensively. Of course, everybody in this league seems to be similar to us, but not in every conference. So. That's me. I would love for us to be ranked for the players and the fans and stuff, but for me, it doesn't bother me. Now we get to about last week or so, you kind of want your name to start popping up in there, because that's going to help you in terms of your seeding and stuff.
Brett Harker said in getting to championship Sunday at the ACC or the Southern Conference baseball tournament, he said, all I want's a chip and a chair.
No doubt.
You give me a seat at the table, and I'll take my chances. And it's kind of the same thing we're talking about here. There's 24 teams to get there. Just make us one of the 24, and let's go.
Yeah, you're going to have to beat them all, and you're going to have to win all your games, whether you're the 24th ranked team or the first ranked team. And that's all you're really shooting for. You want to me, that should be your first goal, and then your second goal is win the conference. Because heck, I'll take losing the conference and national championship any day, wouldn't you? Finish second in the conference and then win national championship. Yeah. I think I'd take that.
That would be an even trade.
No doubt.
I would take that,
because I would like both.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the thing about it now, the way things have worked out, the top 4 teams in this league, this is turning into a nice little sprint to the end, and we control a good deal of our own destiny, at least as far as maybe getting that playoff bid is concerned. Not so much yet as far as winning the conference, because Wofford still holds the tiebreaker right at the moment. But we can pretty much decide what our postseason looks like by what happens in these final 3 games.
Oh, yeah. If you win out, now correct me if I'm wrong, but if you win out, it's still conference championship, because they got the head-to-head playoff, right? But we're still a conference champ.
Right,
so
still part of the conference champion. There'll be something else go up on that building down there.
I don't see any things that's on there, so I that don't bother me at all. So, you went out, you're still conference champs, and if you're tied, I would doubt that. There's a 3-way tie. I'd be shocked if all 3 teams didn't get into the playoffs. It would get split in hair. Sometimes it matters what other people in the country are doing. Obviously, the last couple of years I've been in the playoffs, so we paid a lot of attention to that and the different things that's went on. But, the thing about it is the goal of the conference championship's out there right now. But really, I'm just worried about winning this game, and then let the rest of it take care of itself. And then you got a little bit of off week, which would be awesome to get some guys healthy and get ready for Citadel and the last. It's like a one-game playoff. Is what I told the defensive guys yesterday. It's a one-game playoff right now. It's one game right now, and then we got an off week, and then it's a 2-game series after that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of the way I'm trying to approach it. And if you win the conference championship, that's awesome. If you win 2 out of the 3 and you go to the playoffs, that's awesome. Right now, let's not worry about any of that stuff. Let's just worry about taking care of business, because none of it's going to matter if you don't take care of business. I mean, that's, you can't get too. You could still win this game, or you could lose this game and still win the conference technically. So if you get wrapped up too much into all that stuff, I think you start worrying about it too much. And so really, all we can do is go do our job the best we can do it, and then look up at scoreboard when it hits 60 minutes and see what happens.
And the other way you can look at it is you start 0-3 like we did, and of course the NC State loss doesn't count as far as what the pollsters and committee will be looking at. But regardless, it's an 0-3 start. From that junction on, you could make the argument that you're playing playoff football every week if you still hope to get into the postseason, because your margin of error is basically nil.
Well, and football is it's very different, a very different sport than a lot of the other ones. Because basketball and baseball and all those teams play so many games that 1 or 2 losses don't always knock you out of certain things.
Mm-hmm.
But football, I mean, Clemson. Look at Clemson; they made 1 loss. It depends on how it shakes out. May not be in the playoffs themselves. And football is the margin of error in football is very, very small, and so that's one of the things we tell our guys. You got to take advantage. We work so hard for 11 games and then trying to get more that you got to play every game as hard as you can, because they all matter. But if you looked at it and they wanted to complain to people, they have an argument. The 2 1AA losses you have, both teams are ranked pretty high. And you've won the rest of them, and the 2 that you did lose, you had a chance or should have won against Wofford. You had a chance at 2-point. We were gassed. I'm glad we did go for 2. And then Elon, you were up on them. So you got an argument. I think we'll worry about that when we get there. But I think Coach Hendricks could have a very good argument, or the AD, whoever's on the playoff committee, because they have those conversations. There'll be someone around here. I don't know who it is in this conference. Someone will be your representative in this conference in there, and you start going back and looking. You say, well, maybe look at their good wins, but look at their losses. They're not that bad losses, and I think that's part of it. That's what we've dealt with in the past couple of years ourselves when we were together at Charleston.
All right, before we let you go, just some thoughts on the challenge that Western Carolina is going to present offensively.
Maybe besides North Carolina State, maybe probably the most athletic, dynamic offense we've seen, and they're statistically one of the tops in the conference. A lot of people look at the stats in the conference. I don't like to look at the overall stats in the conference, because it's very skewed. I actually like to look at the conference-only team stats, and they're still up there. They're athletic. The quarterback's very dynamic. They got really good receivers that can really run. They stretch the field. They run extremely hard at running back and quarterback. They're physical up front offensively. It's going to be a challenge for us. We're going to have to do a good job of tackling in space. I told them that yesterday. We can't give them extra yards. We're going to do a great job playing the deep ball. We got to make them execute. Don't give them anything. They're a tempo team, so we're going to line up fast. We didn't do that as well at times last week, which is obviously my fault. I got to get the calls in quicker. We have to have a sense of urgency, so we'll work hard at that this week. But they present a lot of challenges. Now, what can help? It's both sides. If we do a good job getting off the field early, then they don't use a lot of clock. Then offensively, we're able to control the ball, control the time of possession. It's going to take a team win to go up there and beat these guys. They're a good team, and I think whether we lost 2 games, and one was to Hawaii and one was to
Wofford
in overtime, and I think they basically almost had them beat. So, it's going to be a challenge. I think it's probably not to take anything away from the rest of the games we played, but to me, offensively looking at them, they're more probably the most dangerous team we played to date. So,
last thing, the injuries we talked about earlier, and the fact now that all those guys are pretty much back. Blessing in disguise because you were forced to increase your depth on the fly? Not so much.
No, I mean, it's part of the game.
Yeah.
Obviously it's it's been probably one of the crazier years in my coaching career in terms of, like you said, I mean, within 3 games you lost your top 3 linebackers, and, you know, it's a new scheme, and, you know, we lost a lot of guys. We knew how young and inexperienced we were already coming into it, and but, you know, I look at it, and sometimes I look at it and I'm surprised. I mean, you know, you hold Mercer 21 points. You know, I don't really look at the yardage as much as I do points, but and then third downs and the things that we did, and I'm like looking at our guys and how young they are out there, and those seniors out there, and I'm just saying how great of a job our assistant coaches have done. You know, sometimes I'll get the credit for what goes on, and they do more of the work than I do. You know, I might be the one calling it or making the final decisions, but, you know, the pass rush we're getting, you know, I mean, Coach Miller, I mean, I don't work with those guys on that stuff, you know, and the young linebackers, I mean, they're spending all their time with Coach Lamondola and the corners, you know, so I don't even have either positions that are really young.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's, you know, you got to give those guys a lot of credit. You know, I think I have to be smart in terms of how much we do and what we do and make sure we're in the right spots. And I try to get in there and help actually Coach Lamondola with those linebackers because, you know, that's a lot. You know, I don't think people realize how hard linebacker is to play sometimes. I mean, all right, you got 300-pounder coming to knock your head off this play, and then next play I got to drop to this guy or I got to man this guy up, but yet they just faked a run at me. I mean, that stuff happens fast, and so those guys have done an outstanding job. I couldn't be happier with what they've done. They worked their tails off, and then Coach Vaughn too he's been really a big help too, just from the standpoint of he's played these teams before. All these guys are really pretty new to me besides Citadel, which we haven't played, and so he's given a ton of advice and different things, and he adds a lot of things people probably don't know about, you know, game plan wise,
yeah,
and so forth. I mean, even Drew Duke, you know, I mean, he's up here doing a great job in the box, calling personnel, and it all works together, man. I'm excited about what the coaches have done. And with losing the players we've lost, I don't want that to get lost in the shuffle,
mm-hmm.
you know, because it could have very easily been a tough year.
Yeah.
And
well, I can promise you this: it's been a fun year for the broadcast crew. we have had a blast with this team and what we've seen develop over the course of 8 games, and just hope that this streak can continue and the storybook continues, man. It's been fun. I know all the pieces of the puzzle aren't there yet, but you're finding some way to get everything to fit together just enough on both sides of the ball to keep the train rolling.
Well, I mean, you got to give credit to Coach Hendricks. You know, I mean, he's done a great job with them, and the guys are having fun. They're dancing, and of course, I made him finally dance. I've caught too much crap about dancing after that one.
Oh, you made Clay dance?
I made Clay dance.
Is that on video anywhere?
It will get out soon. I'm waiting for it to get out so people quit talking about me. And
well, you know, I know a guy who can make that happen.
I know a guy who can make it happen. Yeah. And so I talked to Robbie Caldwell. We come out, and I said, hey, we got Clay dance. And I said, I had to make him. He didn't want to do it. And he was like, he told me a story with what Dabo said. He says, look, it's very true. It sounds crazy, but games are really hard to win. And enjoy every one of them. And so it's fun. You know, I think the players are having fun. We're having fun. I think the fans are having fun. You know, we just got to keep it going. You know, all we can do is just do our job as hard as we can do it for 60 minutes.
Sounds good. Listen, thank you, man. I appreciate
right,
your time. That's Chad Staggs. Stay tuned. We'll come back. Got a few other things to get to, and we'll be back as the Dan Scott Show continues in just a moment.
Looking for a good lunch spot in the Travelers Rest area? The Cafe at Williams Hardware is your place. Williams Hardware has food for the whole family, from the famous Reuben to the barbecue chicken quesadilla and their daily lunch specials, which includes the award-winning BLT on pimento cheese with pepper jelly, served Tuesday to Thursday. Williams Hardware also serves breakfast on Saturdays from 8 to 11, perfect before Furman home game. And don't forget their gift shop, which offers items for anyone on your list. Go see your friends at the Cafe at Williams Hardware, 13 South Main Street in downtown TR. Full menu and operating hours at the Cafe at WilliamsHardware.com.
Say you've got a busted phone or tablet screen. Time to get a new device? Nope. Time to give it CPR. CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale can repair almost any phone or tablet screen on the market and usually can do it same day. In fact, if you have an iPhone, the fix usually takes less than an hour. CPR Cell Phone Repair also can fix computers and gaming systems, both screens and hard drives. And they sell refurbished devices and new accessories. Stop by and see the new owner, Janet Culver, today and check them out on Facebook. That's CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale, 865 664-282-9097. Give it CPR today.
Stuck in a state of falling behind? Struggling to keep up with your kids, finances, insurance? Then let State Farm agent Steve Borkland in Travelers Rest help you simplify and get to a better state. Because with Steve handling your auto, home, and life insurance, you'll have more time for everything else. More money too, because adding State Farm policies could mean earning discounts worth up to 40%. That's money Steve can help you put towards a college savings plan. Call State Farm agent Steve Borkland today and get to a better state with State Farm.
Let me tell you something, Cowboy. This rookie can really bring the heat.
He's smoky and spicy with a Chipotle style all his own.
It's a new Montgomery Inn Chipotle barbecue sauce. Make it a part of your home team.
Available now at your neighborhood grocer or online at CincyFavorites.com.
All right, welcome back. Our thanks to Chad Staggs for hanging out with us and talking some defense with this Furman team and looking ahead to this weekend's matchup with Western Carolina. Before we continue, just a quick word about our friends at Hall's Chop House. They are located in downtown Greenville and have quickly become the Greenville Steakhouse. Billy and his folks, of course, they have the original Hall's Chop House down in Charleston. They opened this one up not too long ago, and it has become an absolute hit here downtown. Allen Brothers Prime Steaks out of Chicago, so you know you're getting absolutely the best cut of meat, and it just goes from there. The entire menu is fantastic. The people are friendly. They're open every night, 7 nights a week for dinner. They're also open for brunch on Sundays. They have live music on each and every one of those occasions, an outdoor patio when the weather's right for your enjoyment, and they have meeting rooms available. So if you've got a Christmas party being planned or some corporate event or some other kind of private get-together, you need a space, you need a great menu, and a convenient place to do it, Hall's Chop House, downtown Greenville. The Greenville Steakhouse. Please tell them you heard about them here on the program when you go visit them. Well, as we move on, we've talked FCS polls. If you're just joining us, we've talked the firing of Georgia Southern's football coach. We have just spent a good session with Chad Staggs and got a couple of other things that we want to get into here before things get too far away from us. One, of course, being the World Series. Got to sneak a little baseball in today. The series begins tonight. Game 1 in Los Angeles between the Astros and the Dodgers. These two former National League opponents. Now, of course, Houston, since 2013, a member of the American League West. So they're two teams that are somewhat familiar with one another from their days together in the National League, but meeting now for the first time as interleague opponents in the World Series. And the focus of this series is going to come down really to pitching staffs. It's going to come down to the Astros bullpen and the issues that they've been having. A.J. Hinch has basically shown, or did during the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, that he has actually they were just in 1 round of the playoffs, the league championship. No, they were in 2. It's been a long day. He had the division series and the league championship series. But he's shown basically that he has confidence in only 4 pitchers on his entire roster right now. And that's Dallas Keuchel and Justin Verlander at the top of his rotation. And then Lance McCullers out of the bullpen. And who was the other one? There were 4 that he has Charlie Morton has looked really good, especially in Game 7 against the Yankees. So their bullpen problems have been somewhat season long, and Forrest and I talked about this some last week. You know, they had a chance to try and rectify that to a certain extent at the trading deadline. Were not able to, so they finished out with what they had won the division, had home field advantage throughout the American League playoffs, had the best record in the American League. That's a good team. Don't get me wrong. And they've got some other guys in that bullpen who can be successful, but by and large, their bullpen has been the issue, the one Achilles heel for this team all season long. And in a short series where everything is magnified, you're going to have to find some innings out of somebody else. So that's one area to watch. You know, the Dodgers would seem to have a major advantage, not only in pitching depth from their starting rotation, but in their bullpen as well. So if you're going down the category checklist, they probably get that. In the series against the Yankees, the Astros swung the bats abysmally for the most part, with the exception of Altuve and Correa. So they've got to get things going offensively again. And the Dodgers' offense, their lineup has been fairly potent all season long. So you start doing that checklist thing, and there would seem to be most, if not all, of the checks going in favor of the Dodgers when you're going in the, looking at the roster, the matchups, and all of those things. And yet, it's kind of like going back to the LSU Auburn pick that I made the other day. I don't know why there's really not a whole lot of basis to pick the Astros. Maybe it's just because of the fact that I don't like the Dodgers. But I think there's going to be someone step up for Houston. And I think if Houston gets one of these first two games in Los Angeles, then they are going to have a real shot to win this thing. You also have the aspect, and don't downplay this or don't underplay it, that they're kind of playing not just for the franchise and for the city in the normal way, but they're playing for the city in a much larger way now because of all the destruction that was done by the hurricanes. So, there's a little bit of that's kind of in the back of my mind that says, kind of like the Saints when Katrina hit, and that's when they happened to win the Super Bowl. They were playing for a larger cause, so to speak. You can kind of see that a little bit with Houston. And heck, the Yankees went through that in 2001 all the way through the playoffs and to Game 7 of the World Series. They didn't win the World Series, but it was because of what happened on 9/11. You had the same thing. They were playing for a much greater cause. So I can kind of see Houston having a bit of that mojo, if you will, on their side as well. Bottom line is somebody in their bullpen is going to have to step up. You can get away with 3 starting pitchers in a 7-game series. So if they want to move Charlie Morton to the bullpen full time, they want to move somebody else to the bullpen full time, you can get away with 3 starting pitchers, but somebody's going to have to step up. And I think somebody's going to. The other issue is that this has a chance to be a coronation for Clayton Kershaw. Clayton Kershaw has won multiple Cy Youngs. He has established himself as, I think, the best pitcher of this current generation. And yet, it's only been one start last year and what we've seen so far in this postseason where he's had anything that resembles postseason success. Prior to that, he had been awful in the postseason. So there's an opportunity here for Clayton Kershaw to kind of silence all of the critics by winning 2 games in this World Series and being a dominant pitcher in this World Series. The question is, will he? And if Kershaw stumbles, that's going to open the door for the Astros. So we'll watch and see. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to take Houston in 7 games. Somebody for Houston is going to to play the Buddy Biancalana role. And for those of you who know your history of baseball, you know what I'm talking about. Buddy Biancalana in 1985 with the Kansas City Royals, a light-hitting shortstop, and that might be kind, quite honestly. But for 7 games in a World Series, he found the zone. As a matter of fact, he's written a book about that and uses that in training now. I've had him on the show in another life of the program. But for 7 games, he found the zone and hit 200 points above his lifetime batting average, at least. It was one of those moments that somebody unexpected stepped into the spotlight and took advantage of that moment. Somebody for Houston is going to do that, whether it's somebody in the lineup or whether it's somebody out of the bullpen or maybe another one of the starters. Somebody's going to have to do that, maybe more than one, for Houston to win this series. I'm going to bank on the fact that with everything else going on, Clayton Kershaw is going to stumble in at least one of those 2 games, and somebody for Houston is going to take advantage of a spotlight opportunity, and the Astros are going to win this in 7 games. Take it for what it's worth. That's what I think. All right, a programming note. Dave Glenn will be unable to be with us tomorrow because it's ACC Basketball Media Day. So he will be with us on Thursday instead. And, of course, Thursday we are also getting into our college football picks and starting to really hyper-focus on the weekend. And Friday we'll be talking with either Gary Ayers or Daniel Hooker from up in Cullowhee to get more of a flavor on this Furman-Western Carolina matchup. Every time Furman and Western Carolina get together, Daniel Hooker calls it the battle for purple supremacy. So we're looking forward to getting up there and seeing how that plays out. But that'll be coming up on Friday. So tomorrow, with Forrest back in here, we'll be filling that Dave Glenn spot with some other stuff. Maybe another interview if I can get a couple of phone calls answered. And we will move on from there. But thank you for your attention. Thank you for joining us on the show today. We greatly appreciate it. And again, the show is going to archive on both Facebook and on Twitter and Periscope. Once it's done, share it so people can go back and watch it later. We need to grow this audience, and I appreciate the loyal folks we have who've been with us as we began this experiment. I think we've got a product that's getting better as we're trying to add more to it. And now let's take it another level. Let's get more people involved. That being said, stay tuned if you're listening to the Campus FM or on TuneIn Radio to the Campus FM station, WPLS-LP. Coming up next is a replay of Furman's 28-21 win this past Saturday over Mercer. Until tomorrow, I'm Dan Scott saying God bless you. And so long, everybody. We will see you at 10 a.m.